Hi everybody, Jeremy Siskind here. I'm the author of the Jazz Piano Fundamentals series, Book 2, Book 1, Book 3's in there somewhere. I'm the author of Playing Solo Jazz Piano, and don't forget, solo standards for piano. Woo, 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 woo. Alright, so I got a request from someone to do a video on playing double time lines. And I'm going to be totally honest that I can't say I know exactly how to teach this, but I have some thoughts and ideas that I hope can unlock some things for you. So, there are those videos that I've taught a million times, and there's some stuff that maybe is more of an exploration. This is maybe a little more of an exploration. Okay, so just in case we got some newbies here, or some people who use different lingo, by double time lines, we're really talking about 16th notes. Like the idea of double time is that it's like you're playing in twice the original tempo. So, if you were playing 8 notes before, now you're playing 16 notes. One thing to understand of how double time is different is that when we play 16 notes in jazz, we play them absolutely straight. In very rare circumstances do we swing our 16 notes. So let's see, if I'm playing a blues in F, this is very awkward, huh? Right, so those are 8 notes. And then double time would be right, I'm out of double time. I don't know what I'm doing with this blues progression. It's a mess. Let's skip to the 2 chord. Back into single time. So, one thing to realize when we're talking about double time is that you can't exactly do what you normally do twice as fast. A lot of things are the same, but what's different is that now we have a lot of notes on every single chord, right? Let's say the chord lasts a measure, maybe it'll last less, maybe it'll last more, but hypothetically, you have 16 entire notes to play just in that one measure of, let's say, F7. Whereas if you're playing 8 notes, maybe you'll have 8 notes to play, a little bit less intimidating. But it means you really have to do something in those 16 notes. What do I mean by do something? I mean you have to go outside of the chords. Okay, so this is where we're going to start. And I guess I don't mean outside of, like, you have to play out, man. But what I mean is you have to use non-chord tones. Unless you're, very intentionally playing in a McCoy-Tyner-esque modal style where you're playing. Right, that's cool too. I'm not really trying to teach you that. If you are on an F7 and you are trying to use only notes of F mixolydian the whole time, you're going to run out of things to play very quickly. It sounds very boring, sounds very amateurish. Nobody really wants to hear it. So, you really want to use non-chord tones. I've given a few lessons on this recently on the channel, but let me just remind you that what we're doing with non-chord tones is we're targeting chord tones. And these can be used a lot of different ways, but where I would recommend starting is I would recommend starting with chord tones on the beats and non-chord tones leading into the notes on the beats. So let's say we're playing this F7, and I'm going to use the 3rd, and then I'm going to go over to the 7th, and I'm going to use the root, and then I'll do the I don't know the fifth. Okay, I chose these very randomly, as you just saw. But now what I'm going to do, and obviously I'm writing this out, but you would practice playing this, is I'm going to target each of these, and let's start targeting them using two chromatic 16 notes. So C sharp and D lead to E flat. Let's do enclosure around the root. Let's do two chromatic notes leading into the fifth, and then we'll go into the ninth, and let's do two chromatic notes leading down into that too. I followed my ear a little bit. I'm just trying to mix it up. So what we have is... Okay, so then at that point we only have one note to fill in. And let's try to bridge. So I'm trying to choose a chord tone that, you know, leads somehow into the next passage. Let's see how this sounds. I honestly am not sure. Not bad. Like, it kind of sounds like hacky bebop. I think this is a good way to practice, is that you can actually pick chord tones to target. And then you can improvise different ways to lead into those chord tones. So let's try it. So okay, so did you hear that the first time I was using two chromatic notes going up into each of the notes? And then that second time, and I'll do it again, I was using two chromatic notes going down. And really, I think I ended up doing three chromatic notes going down the way it worked out. Okay. Or what if I do the enclosure? Right? So what am I doing there? Just in case you don't quite get it, I'm doing an enclosure, meaning that I'm going a half step above, a half step below, a half step above, half step below, and then I'm leaping to a chord tone that's going to lead into that enclosure. I'll put that in blue so you can distinguish. I can't sing that high, so I went down the octave. Hope you're not judging. Nope, I'm beaming those totally wrong. Oh, I'm getting an Amber Alert, because that's fun. That's what we're doing now. Sorry about that. These things really don't shut up. Day in the life. And then, you know, maybe I'll just end with an arpeggio going down. Cool. Or let's practice. Right, those are all chord tones. The root, the 7th, the 13th, and the 5th. Right, so that's leading in by half steps ascending. a little bit too just half steps all the time. So I might put some leaps in there. And I'm just leaping to a chord tone. So let's explore this because this is a little bit tricky. So F, E, E flat. And then maybe I'll leap down to A, the third. Now, I don't really love leaping to E flat because that's the major seventh. It's kind of a gross note. So maybe I'll do an enclosure instead, leading into that D. And then let's not leap down just for variety. Let's go up. So as you work on these, the idea is that you're going to start building a little bit of vocabulary, these like little units, these little cells that can go some different places. And you start being able to mix them. Now let me show you how it looks when you're viewing it in a real world-ish situation. So this is about towel transcription. I haven't really figured out which part I want to show, but let's go. I don't know. Is there something fun on the next page? Okay. That gets a little bit confusing. All right, so let's look at this C7. So what's happening on each of the beats? So we have the sharp 9 here, kind of a weird thing, but it's actually the result of he's doing this chromatic descent, which is actually kind of a cool thing to see because here you're seeing what I demonstrated. He's focusing on the notes that are coming on the beat, and then he's filling in space on the other notes. How is he filling in space? Well, for the beginning, he's mostly just playing the G minor 7 arpeggio. And then he's using chromatic notes to set up the next chord tone. And then here, now we have the 9th, the 3rd, and the 7th as his chosen notes on the beat. Let's see what he does. That's not chromatic, it's a scale. This is a reverse enclosure. Students often ask me, can you do an enclosure like below the note and then above? And I say, pretty rarely, but here's the case. This is just a straight arpeggio. And I would absolutely say you do want to mix arpeggios in here, right? This is your classic 3, 5, 7, and flat 9 arpeggio. And then what is he doing in the next part? He's moving into A natural, right? It's an F major in measure 69, and he's doing a scale. He's kind of treading water. And yes, here, this is all a scale, but notice that he's hitting important chord tones on these beats. And he does a diatonic enclosure of the F. So not exactly what we've been talking about here, but the same idea. You'll notice that there's chord tones on the beat for the most part, and then he's setting them up in one way or another. I was going to show you this part, but then I said it's a little confusing, and it's confusing because he actually starts the D7 a little early. So if you can move that D7 mentally, then this is also a great example. So here it's A half diminished, he plays the root, 3rd of the D7, flat 9, 7th. So just like we were setting up there, he's putting important chord tones on the beat. How does he then move into them? Scalar, arpeggio, 3, 5, 7, 9, your classic jazz arpeggio, and then a scalar again. So that principle more or less holds. All right. It's difficult to play double time lines. It requires technique, it requires fingering, but what I focus on here is another thing that it requires, which is it requires you to know how to lead into chord tones using scales, using chromaticism, and using arpeggios. So I hope that that's a helpful bit of insight and inspires some interesting practice. I really recommend you practice slowly as you're practicing these double time lines. Just because they're going to be played fast doesn't mean you have to practice them fast. But you need to get the hang of playing 16 notes in a measure that create an interesting shape and target chord tones using some non-chord tones. If this was a good level for you, there's a lot of stuff in Jazz Piano Fundamentals Book 2 that might apply. Thanks for watching, everybody. Oh, wait. What about a special word? Let's use the word I forgot if you watched this far. Okay.